Hello, you're watching the hatchetjob.com gaming netcast with an overview and first impression of Ascension, Chronicle of the Godslayer, which is a deck building game by Gary Games. This was a review copy sent to me by Gary Games via their UK distributor Ascension, so my thanks to both of them. Now, Ascension is quite a simple game to play and it's very quick to set up. So I'll tell you what I think of it now. I think it's going to be a game that will be especially useful for introducing people to deck building games, to the idea that there are card games and board games out there which will probably be quite unlike anything they've played. And I've played this 5 times, which doesn't sound like a lot, I admit, but each of those times I've been teaching at least one person to play. So basically I've been teaching groups of people how the game plays. Now what that means is that I haven't played anyone who's very experienced in it, so I haven't been able to plumb its depths or figure out the really fine nuanced points about what's good or bad with the game. What I have seen is how people react to it when they're being taught, what they think, their opinions of the game which are unburdened with board gaming experience. The way you win in Ascension is to have the most points at the end of the game. Points are represented in 2 ways. You have these gems here, and by the way, you get 50 red gems with it, 50 white gems, you get a board with the game, and 200 cards. The board isn't really necessary to play, but it's nice to have, especially because it has descriptions of the turn on here. And although there are only 2 descriptions, so it looks like it's a 2-player game, it's not. It's actually 2 to 4 players. So as I said, the way to win is through points, and red gems are worth 5, white gems are worth 1, and then every card you buy during the game will have a point value as well. So when you run out of gems from the central pile to draw from, and the more players you have, the more gems you get, the game stops. Everybody counts up the point value of their cards, they count up how much their gems are worth, and the person with the most points wins. And everybody starts with the same starting hand, which I'll show you here. Apologies for light reflecting. And the starting hand comprises currency only. And there are 2 types of currency in the game. I'm just going to call them red and white for simplicity. And red currency is used to attack, and here the words attack and buy are really interchangeable, are used to attack monsters, and white currency is used to buy the other types of cards, which are heroes and constructs. So I'm just going to take you through the 3 different types of cards so you can see the card layout, get a quick look at the artwork, and understand the types of things that you can do with them. The simplest card to understand in deck building terms is what's called a hero card. You can see this is the Meccana hero, Meccana initiate, and the top right of a card is how much it costs to buy. So this would cost me 1 white currency. Bottom left of a card in the star shape is how much this card is worth to me at the end of the game. So that's its victory point worth to me. And then in the main section of the card you can see what you're allowed to do with it. So in this case, if I played this in my hand during my turn, I would be able to get either 1 extra currency to either 1 extra white currency to spend that turn, or 1 extra red currency. The second type of card is called a monster. So here we are, Xeron Duke of Lies. You can see this costs me 6 red currency to get, and it says monster there. Now unlike the hero, this doesn't have a victory point cost, and that's because this does not go into my hand. Basically monsters are played there and then pretty much, and once you play it you get rid of it, so basically it leaves the game. You don't get a chance to get it back. When I defeat this guy, or I buy him to use, I gain 3 victory points, plus I can take a card at random from each opponent's hand and put it into mine. So he's quite powerful, but again you only get to use him once. And then the last type of card, and this is possibly the most interesting to deck building game fans, is called a construct. So you can see this is Lifebound construct. It costs me 4 white currency to buy. At the end of the game it's worth 2. Once per turn I gain an extra red currency to spend, and if I want to I can spend 4 white currency to gain 3 victory points. Now the interesting thing about constructs is that unlike monsters which you play and then get rid of, and unlike heroes which you put into your discard pile as with any other deck building game, constructs stay in play for you, so they are basically a permanent bonus. Now of course people can take constructs away from you or force them out of your hand, but basically this is a permanent bonus. Okay, so let's look at approximately how a turn works and how things change. So during my turn I draw my cards, whatever they are, and then I decide to buy something. So let's say I buy this guy. I put into my discard pile, and then immediately I go over here and I put another card down. If I want to, I can buy that card. So as you play, this is always changing and turning over. As you buy something, other people are looking at this line of cards and thinking, wow, I hope he doesn't take this one, or I really want to buy that one next round. And of course, conversely, you are looking at how other people are playing and you're thinking, well, I think he really wants this card, so I've got enough currency to take it away from him and deny him his strategy. Now, there isn't a lot of direct interaction, but certainly because this is always changing and you can see how people are playing, you can pay attention to what the overall flow of the game is. And you have situations where you have a row of cards which is essentially it's all white currency, and if that happens a few turns, then you can sort of guess that there's going to be a red currency card coming up. So maybe when you're playing, you decide, okay, I want to invest in my red economy, or I want to invest in my white economy. So again, there are small decisions there. More interesting than that, and this is where it gets slightly more complex, and where one of the people I taught, my mother, had a bit of a problem, though not an enormous one, is that when you play a hand and you look at your cards, you can resolve what's on the card in any order that you want to. So let's say, just for example, that you have a hand of 4 cards, okay? And each card, unlike these ones here, has 2 different powers on it. Let's just imagine this is my hand of 4 cards, okay? So it's no longer in this draw pile, I'm just using it. So what I could do is I could use, okay, I'm going to use the first power here, and then use that to give me a bonus when I play this one. Then I will buy something else because of this card. Then I can go back here and use the second power. So you can kind of chain things out of order. You don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4 and play it like that. You can play it in any order you want to, as long as you have the powers. And for my mother, that kind of analysis of the cards, I think, was unusual to her. I realised what I should have said is that it's like going into a shop with a load of vouchers or coupons, and these vouchers and coupons will always have terms and conditions on. I'm going to go in and spend my 20% off voucher to get this game, then if I get this game, I've got another voucher which says I can get this one for 30% off, and you chain things together. And I think if you like that kind of interaction, looking at how just to flip everything so it clicks in just the right way, you're going to enjoy this. When I have taught it to new people, after a couple of turns, they basically all understand the simple mechanics, and then they start thinking about what to buy and how they should do it. Some of the complaints I've had are, one of the complaints was a woman who basically didn't play card games at all, and in her mind she always thought of a card game was one in which you had to discard stuff, so she didn't feel not discarding was much fun. She wanted more of a penalty. There isn't too much of a penalty in this game as far as I can tell, at least teaching them. Another group I taught to, they played on their own, they gave me their feedback afterwards, felt that at the end of the game they hadn't really earned the win. And I suppose that's okay, but that to me suggests they wanted something a bit deeper, maybe with a bit more long-term strategy. And of course you can't have this if things are turning over all the time. Conversely, one guy I taught who owned Dominion, he liked it. I had a video game friend who played, and he liked it as well, because on the box it says half an hour to play. That seems about right. And you get all these little decisions which aren't going to burn your brain out and make you despair because you're only running at 80% efficiency in your engine instead of 99.9 or whatever it is. They're just interesting enough to keep you engaged. And you also get these cool little gems which, after one game of this, I then used as scoring tokens in a different game. So actually these are just useful to have anyway. So yes, I think Ascension is a solid game. I don't know if it'll be my number 1 card game. That's probably reserved for Race for the Galaxy, and I enjoyed the process of learning in Race for the Galaxy. It didn't put me off, so that gives you an idea of the fact that I like complexity and having a slight hurdle to overcome. This is totally different. This is, if Race for the Galaxy is, in women's terms, some kind of amazingly well-designed stiletto that is actually quite uncomfortable but looks fantastic and ultimately is quite rewarding, this is like a comfy slipper. You just put it on, it's very easy to get into, you know what you're getting. It may not be your favourite pair of shoes at all, but if you've got a friend around your house and he says, oh, these, looking for a good pair of slippers, you'll say, well, try this one out, man. This is really comfortable, easy to wear, good to go. The slippers come with these fantastic jewels. what else are you going to look for?